Yo, what's up everybody? Thinking about packing your bags and heading for greener pastures? Well, hold your horses. If you're black in America, choosing where to live isn't as simple as picking a state with nice weather. Nope. For us, it's a whole different ballgame. We're talking about a country where your zip code can determine your destiny. Where some states roll out the welcome mat, while others, well, let's just say they make it abundantly clear you're not exactly their cup of tea. So buckle up, because today we're diving headfirst into the 10 states black people should avoid moving to. And trust me, the reasons are about as fun as a root canal. Let's get into it. First up, we're heading down south to the land of sweet tea and, well, not so sweet realities. South Carolina, y'all. Now, don't get me wrong, the state has its charm, but beneath that veneer lies a history and a present that's tough to swallow. We're talking about a place where hate crimes are still a thing, and get this, they don't even have specific laws against it. It's like they skipped that chapter in the lawmaking handbook. And if you think finding a good job is hard everywhere, try being black in South Carolina. The unemployment rate for black folks is sky high, making it feel like the economic ladder is missing a few rungs. So, yeah, South Carolina, you might want to hold off on booking that one-way ticket. Next up, we're sauntering down to Louisiana, the birthplace of jazz, gumbo, and unfortunately, some seriously messed up statistics. Now I know what you're thinking, but Trevor, New Orleans is lit, and you're right, the city knows how to party. But living there long-term as a black person? That's a different story. Let's start with the fact that Louisiana has more black people behind bars than a season of Love and hip-hop. And if you thought police brutality was just a hashtag, think again. So while the food might be good, the living, not so much. Yeehaw! We're headed to the Lone Star State where everything's bigger, including the challenges for black folks. Now Texas likes to brag about its booming economy, but let's be real, that prosperity ain't trickling down to everyone. We're talking about a state where they're practically handing out voter suppression laws like candy on Halloween, making it harder for black voices to be heard. From Sandra Bland to a Tatiana Jefferson, the list of black lives lost at the hands of law enforcement is heartbreaking. Add to that the gentrification pushing black families out of their homes, and you've got a recipe for disaster. So, unless you're a fan of fighting for your basic rights, Texas might not be the best place to hang your hat. Next up, we're basking in the Sunshine State, Florida, where the beaches are beautiful, and the politics are, well, let's just say they'll make you want to reach for the sunscreen and a stiff drink. I mean, where do you even begin with this one? They're literally trying to erase black history from schools like it never happened. It's like they're saying, hey, let's just pretend slavery was just a minor inconvenience, shall we? And if that wasn't bad enough, Florida's Stand Your Ground law has turned the state into the Wild West, where anyone can shoot first and ask questions later. And guess who's usually on the receiving end of those bullets? You guessed it, black people. So yeah, Florida might be a great place to visit, but living there? You might want to think twice. Hold on tight, folks, because we're heading to Mississippi, a state with a history so heavy, it feels like it's stuck in quicksand. Now, Mississippi has the unfortunate distinction of having the highest poverty rate for black residents in the entire country. And if you thought healthcare was a mess everywhere else, wait till you see Mississippi. It's like they're still performing surgery with rusty spoons and leeches. And don't even get me started on the education system. So, yeah, Mississippi, you might be rich in history, but when it comes to opportunities for black folks, you're fresh out. Well, folks, we're rolling into Alabama, the heart of Dixie, where the food is fried, the accents are thick, and the racism? Well, it's about as subtle as a Confederate flag waving from a pickup truck. We're talking about a state where the black poverty rate is over 30%, which is higher than a giraffe's blood pressure after a trip to space. And if you thought police corruption was just a plot line from a Hollywood movie, think again. Alabama's got more crooked cops than a barrel of snakes. And the education system? Let's just say they're investing more in textbooks that praise the Confederacy than ones that teach actual history. So yeah, Alabama, you might have given us some great music, but when it comes to equality, you're singing out of tune. Hold on to your hats, folks, because we're headed to Tennessee, the volunteer state, where they'll gladly volunteer to discriminate against you. Now, Tennessee might be known for its music scene, but let's be real, the only thing they're good at harmonizing is racism and inequality. We're talking about a state where housing discrimination is about as common as a banjo at a bluegrass festival. And if you thought police violence was bad elsewhere, Tennessee's got a special brand of brutality just for black folks. It's like they took a page out of the Jim Crow handbook and decided to give it a modern twist. So, yeah, Tennessee, you might have good whiskey, but when it comes to equality, you're still drinking the Kool-Aid. Saddle up, folks, because we're headed to Kentucky, the bluegrass state, where the horses are fast, the bourbon is strong, And the racism? Well, it's about as subtle as a horse with a broken leg. Now, Kentucky might try to hide behind its charming facade, but let's be real, the only thing they're good at distilling is racism and injustice. I mean, the Breonna Taylor case? That wasn't just a tragedy, it was a giant neon sign flashing the words, systemic racism for the whole world to see. And let's not forget about the lack of black representation in government. It's like they think diversity is just a spice you put in your food. So yeah, Kentucky, you might have good horses, but when it comes to equality, you're still stuck in the starting gate. Hold on to your hats, folks, because we're headed to Arkansas, the natural state where the scenery is beautiful, but the reality for black folks, well, let's just say it's about as appealing as a swamp monster with a toothache. We're talking about a state that consistently ranks as one of the worst for black quality of life. It's like they took all the bad things about the South and crammed them into one state. And if you thought hate crimes were a thing of the past, think again. Arkansas is like a time capsule for bigotry, where people still get harassed for the color of their skin. And let's not forget about the lack of black-owned businesses. So yeah, Arkansas, you might have pretty mountains, but when it comes to equality, you're stuck in a valley. And last, but certainly not least, we arrive at our final destination, West Virginia, the mountain state, where the views are breathtaking, and the black population, well, let's just say it's about as common as a vegan at a BBQ competition. We're talking about a state where the black population is so small, you could fit them all in a phone booth. And I'm not talking about one of those fancy, newfangled phone booths. I'm talking about one of those old-school ones that smell like cigarettes and despair. And if you thought finding a job was hard elsewhere, try being black in West Virginia. It's like they have a sign that says, "No melanin allowed." So, yeah, West Virginia, you might be almost heaven for some, but for black folks, it's more like a purgatory of limited opportunities and isolation. So, there you have it, folks. The 10 states black people should avoid moving to. Look, I know this wasn't the most uplifting video, but hey, somebody's got to keep it real. This isn't about fear-mongering, it's about arming you with the knowledge to make informed decisions. Moving is a big deal, and for black Americans it's even more crucial to choose a place where you feel safe, valued, and have a fair shot at success. So, do your research, trust your gut, and don't be afraid to choose a state that actually sees you, not just your skin color. Until next time, stay woke, stay safe, and choose wisely, my friends. Peace.